Okay, so let's unpack this. We are about to look at a television show today that, well, on paper, it sounds like the most polite, standard piece of broadcasting history
Oh,
imaginable.
absolutely. It sounds incredibly dry at first glance.
Right. It's an early 1980s Canadian home improvement series. But once you actually dig into the production notes, the broadcast history, and just the sheer volume of work involved here,
That's where it gets wild.
it really gets interesting. We aren't just talking about a TV show. We are talking about a content factory that was operating at a speed that would honestly break most YouTubers today.
It is a fascinating case study. It's industrial efficiency disguised as a cozy daytime hobby show.
Yeah,
We are looking at a series called Do It For Yourself. And while the title sounds totally generic to modern ears, the story behind it is an absolute anomaly
totally.
because we have the production notes, we have broadcast dates, and the publication records for this deep dive. And they paint a picture of a small production in Britannia, Ontario that managed to flood the market with content.
And cross international borders. Exactly. In a way that just didn't happen for Canadian daytime TV in 1982.
No, it did not. And look, we have to talk about the cast list right up front.
I knew you were going to bring this up.
I mean, I have to. We're going to get to the serious industry analysis, I promise you. But when I opened the source material for this deep dive and saw the credits, I literally had to double-check my glasses.
It is a unique cast list.
You have the host, you have the experts, and then you have specific build credits for puppy number 1 and puppy number 2.
It's a detail that definitely catches the eye. But before we get to the puppies Zeke and Hoover, we need to set the stage for you.
Fair enough.
Because to understand why a show with build puppies actually matters, you have to understand the media landscape it was born into.
Right. So the mission for this deep dive is to figure out how this show, Do It For Yourself, went from a plumbing disaster to producing a staggering 278 episodes in barely over a year.
And then ended up airing across the United States on networks that usually have nothing to do with each other.
It's basically a look at the gold rush era of instructional television. It really is. This is the exact moment when producers realized that television could be more than just entertainment. It could be a utility.
So let's just jump in. The show is Do It For Yourself. It premieres on the CBC, the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, on September 13, 1982.
A very specific era.
Yeah. And the face of the operation was a woman named Mary Bellows. Now, usually when we look at these old shows, the host is some polished broadcaster or a retired contractor. What's Mary's deal?
Well, Mary Bellows is the anchor, but she represents something very specific for that time. In 1982, the barrier to entry for home improvement was incredibly high.
Oh, completely.
If you had a leaky faucet or wanted to build a planter box, you were at the mercy of information scarcity. You couldn't just pull up a tutorial on your phone in the hardware store aisle.
Right, you couldn't just Google it.
Exactly. You had to buy a book, which might be too technical, or you had to know a guy.
You were basically competing with your own ignorance. If you didn't know the exact term for a specific washer, you were just stuck.
Precisely. And Mary Bellows stepped into that gap as a proxy for the audience. And the origin story of the show is critical here. There's a reference in the source material from 1985 that headlines, "Plumbing disaster leads to splash on television."
See, I love that headline. But I have to ask, is that just good marketing? You know, like, oh, I had a leak, so I got a TV show? Or is there something more to it?
I think there is more to it.
Because plenty of people have leaky pipes, and they don't usually get a 278-episode contract out of it.
That's the key distinction. The disaster was the catalyst. It wasn't just the pitch. The production notes imply that this disaster revealed a massive market gap.
Okay.
Mary likely realized that if she as an intelligent, capable person was completely baffled by a simple plumbing issue, then half the country probably was too.
Right, the disaster validated the need for a curriculum.
Yes. It wasn't about high-end architecture or aspirational dream homes. It was about the sheer panic of water on the floor.
Which really grounds the show in reality. It's crisis management for the suburbs. But Mary wasn't doing this alone. She had a support team that I find, frankly, fascinating.
The experts. You can't have a host just guessing how to wire a lamp.
No, you definitely need authority. So looking at the cast list, we have Mary Bellows, then we have the plant experts, we have John Reeves and Ken Reeves.
Both credited as plant expert.
Right. It's a very interesting dynamic. The source material doesn't explicitly state their relationship.
No, it doesn't.
Are they brothers, father and son? Or is Reeves just the most common name in Britannia, Ontario?
Well, the records are silent on the genealogy, but given the location, Britannia is a close-knit community, it is highly probable they were related.
That makes sense.
But consider the branding effect of that ambiguity. It feels like a family business. It's not some corporate plant specialist entity.
It's the Reeves boys.
Exactly. It implies a multi-generational transfer of knowledge, which is exactly what the audience was lacking in 1982.
It builds trust right away. If the Reeves family says this fern needs shade, you just believe them.
Correct. Trust is the absolute currency of instructional TV. If the advice fails, the viewer tunes out forever. But you also need to keep them watching through the dry parts.
Which brings us back to my favorite cast members.
The puppies.
Yes, Zeke Puppy No. 1 and Hoover Puppy No. 2.
Now, why do you think a show about drywall and gardening needs 2 credited dogs?
Well, initially I just thought it was cute, but looking at the production volume, is it a pacing trick?
It's a brilliant piece of production utility. Think about the subject matter. Watching someone sand a cabinet for 10 minutes is clinically boring.
It's terrible television.
It is, but you can't skip the sanding or the viewer won't learn the process. So how do you reset the viewer's attention span without cutting away to a commercial every 2 minutes?
You cut to the dog.
Exactly. You cut to Hoover chewing on a stick or Zeke sleeping in a pile of sawdust. It's a palate cleanser for the brain.
That is so smart.
It softens the technical delivery. It turns a lecture into a hangout.
It's like the 1980s version of those oddly satisfying videos on social media. It just keeps you looking at the screen. Plus, the name's Hoover is just a great name for a dog on a cleaning or DIY show.
It creates a universe. This isn't a sterile studio, it's Mary's world. The dogs also serve as a marker of time.
Oh, how so?
If you are watching this show daily, watching a puppy grow up Zeke, getting bigger Hoover learning tricks, it creates a parasocial bond with the audience. You aren't just tuning in to fix a shelf, you're tuning in to see how big the dog got.
Okay, so we have this cozy atmosphere. We have Mary the Reeves clan and the puppies. It sounds so relaxing. But then we look at the numbers.
The numbers are staggering.
And this is where this deep dive gets really intense because the math on this production schedule is terrifying.
This is the statistic that stops you in your tracks, the sheer volume of it.
The show produced 278 episodes.
In a very specific window.
Right. The premiere is September 13, 1982. The primary run ends December 4th, 1983.
So let's crunch the math on that. That is roughly a 15-month window. If you exclude weekends and standard holidays, you're looking at roughly 320 potential working days.
And they made 278 episodes. That is almost a 1-to-1 ratio.
It's relentless. And remember, you don't film 1 episode a day and go home. Television production requires setup lighting rehearsals.
Right.
To hit that number, they weren't filming 1 a day. They were likely block shooting, filming 3, maybe 4 episodes in a single day, several days a week.
And these are 30-minute episodes, too. Imagine the logistical nightmare of that. You are in Britannia, Ontario. This isn't a massive Hollywood lot. You need materials for 3 different DIY projects every morning.
And continuity.
Yes, you need Mary to have 3 different wardrobe changes so it looks like different days.
And consider the margin for error. If a pipe bursts during a demo in the morning session or if the paint doesn't dry fast enough for the after reveal, you are totally behind schedule.
There is no fix-it in post when you are running a volume factory like this.
None. It requires military-grade organization from the producer J. Derek Smith and the director H.W. Pasilla.
And let's not forget the music by Cam Shearer. Imagine having to score 278 episodes of a daytime DIY show.
You're definitely reusing some tracks.
Oh, absolutely. But it also puts a huge burden on the talent. Mary Bellows isn't an actress reading a teleprompter about the news. She's doing actual physical labor.
Yes.
She's sawing, hammering, potting plants, doing that for 10 hours a day on camera while maintaining a cheery TV host persona. That is exhausting just to think about.
It creates a specific type of energy on screen, though. It's live to tape. You can't do 20 takes. If Mary stumbles over a word or if the saw sticks a little bit, they probably just kept it in.
They had to.
And oddly enough, that likely helped the show.
Because it makes her look human.
Exactly. Because DIY is messy. If the host is too perfect, it feels fake. If Mary struggles with a jar of nails because she's on her 4th hour of filming, the audience relates to that struggle.
It reinforces the do-it-yourself ethos. It's not about perfection. It's about getting it done.
That's a great way to put it. The fatigue actually adds authenticity. But they didn't just air these in Canada and call it a day.
No, they did not.
This library of 278 episodes became a massive asset.
This is where the business model completely shifts. You don't make 278 episodes just for a single run on CBC. You build a library so you can sell it. And sell it they did.
Yes. The release window extended all the way to November 1st, 1985.
Because the show crosses the border. In 1985, the series was sold to a broadcast group for the United States, and the list of networks that picked it up is just bizarre.
It is a fascinating mix. The sources list the USA Network, Lifetime, and PBS.
Okay, let's break that down because PBS and Lifetime are on opposite ends of the television spectrum.
This is the most baffling and impressive part of the data to me.
Yeah.
You have PBS, the public broadcasting service, non-commercial educational highbrow, funded by viewers and grants. Their mandate is strictly public service.
Right.
Then you have Lifetime and USA Network, commercial cable juggernauts, designed to sell advertising to very specific demographics.
Usually a show is one or the other. You're either Sesame Street or you're a soap opera. You aren't both.
It's exactly. For a Canadian daytime show to fit the mandate of both suggests it occupied a really rare middle ground.
It had to be educational enough to pass PBS's rigorous standards for instructional content.
But it also had to be entertaining and light enough to hold an audience on Lifetime between movies.
It suggests the show was the ultimate utility player. If you're a program director at Lifetime in 1985 and you have a slot to fill at 11 in the morning, Monday through Friday, buying them, do it for yourself is a dream move.
It's a turnkey solution. You buy one license and you have a year's worth of daily content ready to go. You don't have to wait for production.
The factory approach paid off.
It did because it created a bulk asset that networks crave. It's the same reason networks buy syndication rights to sitcoms today: reliability.
So Mary Bellows is teaching Americans how to fix their sinks 2 years after she actually stopped filming.
The show had a massive second life.
But she didn't just stay on the screen. The sources show she eventually went to print.
The book tie-in.
Yeah. In 1987, which is quite a while after the camera stopped rolling, she publishes a paperback. The title is DIY, or Do It For Yourself. Publisher is Methuen.
A well-known publisher.
But here's the thing that gets me. The book is 64 pages long.
It's essentially a pamphlet.
Right. You have 278 episodes. You have roughly 140 hours of footage. You could fill a set of encyclopedias with that much content. Why release a 64-page booklet? It feels like a missed opportunity.
I actually disagree with that. I think it's a very specific strategy for the pre-internet era. Think about where this book would be sold.
Okay.
It's likely at the checkout counter of a hardware store or on a rack at a supermarket. It's an impulse buy.
So it's not a reference manual, it's a greatest hits album.
Exactly. Also, translating visual movement into text is incredibly inefficient. Trying to describe how to sweat a copper pipe in text requires paragraphs of writing and multiple diagrams.
So that makes sense.
On video, it takes 30 seconds to show. So the book likely distilled the handy tips and tricks, the shortcuts, rather than the heavy construction projects.
It's also a physical souvenir. In 1987, you couldn't record the show easily unless you had a VCR and remembered to actually set the timer. The book gave you something to own.
The fact that it was published in 1987, 5 years after the premiere, proves the brand had serious legs.
Yeah.
The name Mary Bellows still carried enough weight to shift units years after the production company had packed up the set in Britannia.
So what does this all mean when we look at the big picture? We have this burst of intense activity in the early 80s. A team in Ontario works themselves to the bone for 15 months, churning out content with puppies and plant experts.
And then it spreads across North America, essentially running on autopilot.
Right. If we step back, Do It For Yourself is really a prototype for the modern content economy, but with one major difference.
Which is?
It was structured. Today, if you want to learn DIY, you go online. You watch a 30-second clip here, a 10-minute video there. It's totally fragmented. You are piecing together the knowledge yourself.
You get the hack, but not the foundation.
Exactly. But Mary Bellows and her team built a curriculum. Over 278 episodes, they likely covered the entire life cycle of home maintenance.
It was a linear journey.
They took the viewer by the hand and said, we're going to learn this together day by day.
It makes you wonder about the content factories of today. We have millions of creators, but do we have anyone building something that comprehensive?
That is the real question. We have infinite content, but do we have infinite structure? Are we getting better at fixing our homes, or are we just watching 278 different people fix the exact same leaky faucet in 15-second bursts?
That is a brilliant point to end on. Mary Bellows didn't just make content, she made a library. And I think that's why we're still looking at her production notes over 40 years later.
She respected the viewer's need for a complete education, not just a quick dopamine hit. And she did it with puppies.
That's a very hard combination to beat.
It really is. From Britannia, Ontario to the USA Network, from Zeke the puppy to the 64-page book. That was our deep dive into Do It For Yourself.
A fantastic look at a television pioneer.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. Leave you with that thought on the disposable nature of daily media versus building a lasting library. See you next time.